how the scent of the room totally changed.
Yeah.
Oh, senses. Fitting.
I'm like, do 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 do. Gotta do my thing. I look like I'm in a giant sack.
We both look sacky. It's cold here.
And you know what's funny? It's not as cold as it is across the rest of the fucking country. It's so sunny and dry and like nice here. And we're like, the last 2 episodes I've looked like a sack. And you know what? Love it or leave it.
All right.
Hi, baby girl. She's giving Alien on Earth.
Mm.
And welcome to episode 10.
I'm like, I wanted to say something sarcastic. I'm like, I don't want to start off with that tone.
I mean, do it.
I don't want to be a total brat. I'm like, as you probably already know, I'm Victoria. This is Tara.
And this is not my real hair.
Yeah.
This is a spider plant. And Victoria was like, she took it down for Phoebe, which I was like, yo, respect. But I got to keep it up for me because it's been my hair all season.
It's crazy because I don't see it. So when people started commenting like, oh my God, that was her real hair, I was like, oh.
I'm
Like, that's super cool.
I feel like the first episode, I was like, oh my God, it looks like my hair. And now I'm like, whatever, it's a fucking plant in the back. Welcome to season 10. Oh my God. Season 10. I've been playing with time a lot. Oh, I got to tell you this thing that I heard about time.
Ooh,
God, so many things. Okay, am I going to tell you right now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you right now. It was someone who works in quantum field who was saying how we know time is not linear. We live in a construct of time, and I think we need to hold the duality of that. We can't completely detach from this linear time, but time is not linear. It's cyclical, and it's also all happening all at once. And he said, when you experience time, like for example, if you're having a lot of fun and 2 hours goes by 20 minutes, because time is not real, you've only aged 20 minutes. Oh. And I don't know, it's the only time I've ever heard that, but I was like, wait, love that. But then I thought about all the times where like 1 week has felt like 4. And I'm like, damn, did I just age 4 weeks in this 1 week?
I feel like mine goes by like 400 years. So.
But it was the concept that like if you're present and accepting the present and you can find joy, then things happen more quickly, then you're actually aging a lot less. I don't know. Food for thought. It's been in my head.
I'll eat it. All right, Freak Check. Last episode of the season.
Not season 10, season 6. Last episode of season 6. First of all, before I even say my Freak Check, I am so just grateful for you, for the community, for just like our just leveling up in 2024. I was thinking about how we tend to do about 3 seasons a year. So season 4, we were still remote.
Yeah.
And it was the beginning of 2024. Then we went into in-person, but it wasn't our place. Very grateful for that.
We were in a haunted school, FYI.
We were in a haunted school, which had its perks for some things, but also was like, okay, we need our own space. And then to be in our own space and continuing to like really advance our equipment and advance what we want and feel more comfortable in this space. I'm just feeling really grateful and proud of how fast we're building for ourselves outside of what the like algorithm tells us we're doing. Like we are growing. We are feeling more confident. It's cathartic for us. I feel like I say it every year, but it's really true that this is so healing for me. So feeling really, really grateful for anyone and everyone who is listening, because you're giving us the chance to grow, to learn, to deepen our practice through this cathartic expression. So thank you.
Ah, so beautifully stated.
It's like I do a podcast or something. I also feel like I've said that before. I'm like, shit, how many times do I say the same things? Okay.
Probably a lot. I'm like,
I know,
I'm guilty of it too. But also, do you remember?
Did you
Also,
listen?
Sometimes it feels good to hear something that sounds familiar, especially in a world that feels so chaotic and ever changing and like you don't know what's what. To have some sort of like peaceful repetition is soothing.
Yeah.
So we're here for it.
Yeah. So let me pass the free check off to you, because I'll get into mine, but I want to hear how you're feeling, because I just gave a little snippet of my gratitude.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. As we mentioned earlier, it's just been like cold here, and I've been really leaning into the cold and actually feeling really good in my body. I feel like all the cold plunges and sauna time I did leading up to like real winter got my body ready, because I used to struggle so much in the winter. So, and I mean, definitely felt the winter depression. So I feel like I'm kind of coming out the other side. We have a fake spring here in Portland in January, usually about a week long or so. So I'm milking it. We are on our second week of dance with Jocelyn, and it's been really interesting to feel the shift from the first week to the second week, and given the state of the world. And I was, we pick a word, a theme for each week. And my first week was focused around electric. And what really came to me was that I let my light dim out from certain circumstances, people, places, things. And I had this kind of download of, how do I be my own energy plant? How do I generate my own energy? And like, what do my backup generators look like? What do my like solar, electric, power look like? It really brought to my attention all the ways that we receive energy. And of course, this is a podcast about frequency and energy healing. And so just, I felt very charged up by the topic and by the word. And I, and being very mindful of the outlets in which my energy is being siphoned and drained. And I encourage you to do the same. And it's something we'll be getting into during this episode. So more to come on that. Yeah. And then I am blanking on the word. Oh, wait, no, the word I had for this week.
You're like, wait, what?
Was enough.
Oh, when you said that, my whole body was like, oh, shit.
I know. And you can take that in a million different directions, but focusing primarily on like what I've had enough of. Oh. Not necessarily that I'm enough. That's how it started. And I was like, actually, I think I'm more like wanting to shed look at how that plays into the idea of being not enough.
Oh, absolutely. Because you literally are not enough because they're draining you. There's not enough of you to fill yourself and fill others. And like,
yeah.
What's the word I'm looking for? But like endlessly. There you go. So yeah, when you're giving like to the things that you're like done with, that you're like, ugh, enough with this, it's making you feel like you're not enough. Because it's always requiring more of you. Damn, girl. I didn't think of it that way. Until the word just came out of my mouth. We're all on this journey together, man.
All right. Give me your freak check. What was your word for the week?
My word for the week was playful.
Okay. I feel like that's your MO.
Yeah. I'm like really trying to be playful lately. When am I not? So Andrew and I went to this botanical garden, and he found one of the little helicopter seeds that come down from a tree. I swear to God, I just tossed it up in the air for like 15 minutes and laughed. So feeling very playful, feeling very grateful, as I said. And
hold on, wait, and you stopped smoking? So this is hilarious.
Say, I'm feeling very clear because I was sober, and I am sober. I know I talked about a couple episodes ago how I did almost 3 weeks with no screens. And now I'm doing 30 days with no substances besides a little magic sparkle here and there, which I haven't taken one yet. I'm about a week and a half in. So, and I think for that, it's really reminding me perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I'm alone, when I'm at home, even when I'm at a friend's house and they're smoking, or my sister came over and she's smoking, or Andrew steps out and smokes, like, I'm fine. I'm like, okay, I'm not doing it. Because when I set a goal, I complete a goal. But when I talk to people about it, I'm always like, pray for me. It's so hard. Blah, blah. And I'm like, why am I saying that? Why am I doing that to myself? Like, even if it was hard, I can hold that. But why do I have to be like, oh my God? Which is also like this experience and distractions and sitting in discomfort is also a lot to what I want to talk about as well with our topic today, because it's really just making me realize how little we sit in discomfort and how important it is to do so. So that's my freak check.
Wait, where is the botanical garden?
It was in Lens. I forget what it's called. It's by Pal Butte, kind of.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was really sweet.
I feel like we can't not address the state of the world right now. And by the world, I mean the US. And I know other countries are probably laughing at us, and some have mixed feelings, I'm sure, as well.
And just to note too, sorry to cut you off, we are recording this the day after. I can never say that
the
word.
Inauguration.
Thank you. I'm almost like a gaggeration. That's how it feels, baby. But yeah, I just wanted to state that because it really is fresh. And I feel like as we share our perspective, it's not just our perspective, but we're feeling into the collective stepping into this transition. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted to.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Oh, I'm like, let me cut you off and say exactly what you were going to say.
Well, you're a woman, so you can explain me all you want. Just kidding. It's about respect. Can we just know, and I don't really ever get like gossipy on here or like talk.
I'm like, gossip girl. Oh, I didn't even mean that.
Gossip Girl is like my comfort show.
I'm literally, my sister texted me, I'm about to start it for the first time.
You?
Me?
Or your sister?
No, she's been watching it and she's like, did you start? I was like, fuck, I forgot.
Oh my God. I'm pumped for you.
Your coughs are so cute. They're like little giggles. I was like,
until I'm like burp puking.
oh my God.
Anyways, can we just make note of Melania Trump and how dominatrixy she is, and the dom-sub relationship between them is very comical to me. And at the same time, looking at Bezos' fucking fiance, these women love power, and these women will do anything to be in this power. And it like got me reflecting on the drive over here, because I drove past one of my favorite strip clubs here in Portland. I love going to strip clubs because I like watching women express their sexuality freely. But then what makes it cringy is like all the men there who are, we don't even have to go there. And so it just got me reflecting on this, extreme expression of feminine power and the way that we can seduce and control men. And I don't by any means condone this behavior. I say also just do whatever you want. But it's worth noting because there are a lot of women who are afraid of their power. And I think we're getting to this point now where we're realizing we can't cry in bed for a week like the last time this happened, that we are now rising into our power. And it's very important to recognize the power you bring to the table. I'll leave it at that.
I love that. I love that concept of just like all people, really. I mean, yes, women coming into their power, but in regards to like this time and like us going through this election and like, you know, term again, like, no, there isn't time to sit and cry in bed for weeks and weeks. Do we need to transmute and feel our feelings? Absolutely. That's what, you know, this expression is about. But I think there's a huge shift in it. Even just being at work, we were all talking about how, or my boss was saying how last time like teachers were crying all day and like all, and we're all kind of like, my word, yes, was playful at dance, but how I felt in my heart was split, because there's this piece of me where I'm like numb to it. And I'm kind of like, I'm going to be protected. And I'm not even talking about because I'm cisgender or white. Yes, those 100% play into it. I understand that I can take a step back because of my privilege. But it's also the numbness of like, I'm not even going to give it my time. But then the other half of that is, but I have to be paying attention, but I have to be aware, because when I have to take a stand or when it's time to take a stand, I need to be prepared to do so. So that's a lot of what's been coming through for me, is just this split and being able to hold the duality of, you know, uncertainty but also of trust, right? I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no idea how bad things can get, but I also trust that I will be safe because of the way that I create my reality, because of the way that I step in the world guided by my higher self. So I will say, as we've been leading up to this day, I've had a couple of downloads come in about 2025, about what's going on in the world. And I want to share my perspective, but remember, this is my perspective and take it or leave it. So I said this in this week's Freak Check as well. But coming to the concept that 2024 was integration. There was a lot going on. I feel like everyone was just trying to be like, whoa, let's settle in. Let's figure out what's going on. Who am I? What do I need? Who are my communities? Those kinds of things, almost in preparation for what was to come, which is fine. Integration, finding your truth, bringing it back into the body. 2025 is going to be ascension. And with ascension means that we're going to be tested. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be trials that we have to go through. However, it's the perspective in which you face these challenges with that are going to make all the difference. And when Victoria and Phoebe recorded their episode, afterwards, we were talking about the fires in LA, which thankfully at this point have started to get under control. There is still massive amount of damage, lots of people without homes. We are still holding that grief. But you have people who turned around and said, you know what? Let me open up my restaurant for free. Let me offer clothes for free. And recognizing that, hold on, right? Even if they're not thinking this way, but my perspective of it is, okay, these people's perspective was, let's come together and help. Let's find unity. Let's find support in one another in ways that our capitalist society said is impossible. When really I can just open my door to you because I have the supplies, or I have the space to do so. So the way that we face these challenges is what our emitting frequency is, which is what is going to land us in the reality we step into. So can you find this sense of independent liberation through collective chaos? And we find that independent liberation because we start to say, I'm no longer going to be tied down. I'm no longer going to allow myself to think like I'm the victim. I've been victimized, but I am not a victim. So I feel like that is something really important as we step into this new space, this new reality that we're all stepping into with this new administration of shit's going to get real. And I don't really know what that means. but it's going to get hard and it's going to get challenging and it's going to be scary. But can you face that challenge, that discomfort with acceptance that, hey, we're here. I'm not accepting that this is happening in the sense of I'm just going to bypass it. But if it's in my space, it's in my space.
Mm-hmm.
And how can I change the perspective so that way I can step in as a sovereign being and make choices that are going to navigate the next step as opposed to harping on what's 3 steps behind. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, being present, accepting reality, and the duality of you control your reality. And yes, everything's real, but then also you don't have to accept certain reality.
Yeah.
That's the time we're living in. And I
Yeah.
know that's sort of like many truths at once. Welcome to the age of Aquarius. I think also hold on, let's see if I can say this word, individualization.
Yes.
And that people are really looking out to themselves or looking out for themselves. We're seeing this in celebrities, especially right now. And a lot of them are canceling themselves, I think, because there's a huge turnoff. And not that they were ever really considerate of us, right?
Mhm.
But I think there was more of a, I'm doing this for the people. I'm doing this for the fans. And now there's very much a, I'm doing this to protect myself. And so if we're going to take a lesson from them, I mean, what are you doing to protect yourself? Because there's so much guilt placed on us when we are feeling good during troubling times.
Mm.
And knowing what you can do and what you are responsible for. I think that's another key word that's coming up for this year is understand your responsibility.
Mm.
Really act like responsibility is your ritual every day. And this also ties into what else we want to talk about, which is living a sensuous life, because we're becoming numb to so
Yeah.
many things. And it's really important to maintain the humanness of our senses and our experiences through our senses. So here we are, here we go.
And coming back to like doing what's best for the individual, like for yourself, I also want to note that that doesn't mean separation.
Yeah.
Because I feel like when 2020 happened, there was this sense of, yes, I have to do what's best for the collective by staying inside, by doing XYZ, but also was this sense of individuality where it was, well, I need to make sure that I have my money and I need to make sure that I have food and I need to make sure that my family's healthy. And that separation has caused long-lasting effects on how we interact with one another and the world. So when we're talking about how do I help myself, how do I make sure that I'm okay, a piece of that is having community. And when we start to think of how can I tend to myself, which means I'm going to pretty much be tending to my small community. And if each of us, even if that community is just like a pocket of 10, if each of us are doing that, right, with the concept of community, unity, supporting one another, love, like tending to one another, then across the board, we're all going to be coming together, even if we're in these small pockets to start. So yes, make sure that you're doing what's right for yourself. Get in tune with your body. Your body is where you're going to have all of that information come true, because you're right. There's so many truths right now.
Okay, we recorded an episode a few weeks ago about AI and like techno spirituality, and so many downloads came through after the fact. One, I do want to address the environmental impacts of using technology like AI, but I also encourage you to better understand your data footprint and that anything technological is being stored in data centers. It's not just AI. So it's worth noting how energy is consumed, from water to electricity to, but then also the other realization was that our greatest form of technology lives within inside of us. And I want to emphasize that in this episode, that there is no technology like the human spirit, like our soul. And that's why it's one of the most valuable commodities here on earth, because we're enacting a genetic experiment ultimately. and that expression of our genes and the output of our energy. And then, of course, the input too, because it all is connected, is playing into the bigger scheme of things. And understanding your energy is so important in this point in time. As I, that's all.
And I think when you can tap into that, it's about finding your truth. And there's so much going on right now. And when you have all of these different things, from what's happening in celebrities to fires to the election to just literally, I've said it all season, the list is incredibly long. But when we are constantly being having input of all these different truths. Now, I use the word truths because I am not here to say what is actually happening, what is actually causing these things to happen, who's behind it all, if anyone. What I'm saying is, when we're so filtered with all of those, we can't hear our truth.
Yeah.
Whether it's about our intuitive hit as to what is happening in the world or just what we need in the moment. And I also really got the download that, and I feel like this is not new, but all these conspiracy theories, they can be true. They all can be true in different realities, that we are all living in our own reality. And as Earth ascends, right, because this is the year of ascension, those who are aware are going to be able to see that we're probably merging or shifting through all these timelines and seeing how, yes, it was the government, or yes, it was a natural disaster, or yes, it was arsons, or yes, it was, whatever the case may be. All of those things can be true. And then they want to instill fear. So they're also going to throw false narratives out there to keep you separate from your truth. And that's why, as we continue to shift towards sensuality and understanding our senses and how we intake all of this information, that almost having no sensory input is really just as important. To say, actually, I'm not going to doom scroll. And there's that split, right? I want to know what's happening. I want to be aware so that way I'm ready when I have to stand up for myself. Mm-hmm. But also, I have to be clear enough to hear the information that I'm receiving from that channel, from that higher space, from my truth, because your soul, who you are, is our highest form of technology. Absolutely.
So it's more a search for your truth, not the truth outside of you.
Yes.
Because the truth outside of you is easier to discern when you, I don't know. I just had a thought of CERN, the place where they are playing with black matter and timelines, and CERN, the Hadron Collider.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Wait, we've talked about CERN. Back in 22, they turned it on. Remember, it's in Switzerland.
Oh, okay. It's coming back to me now.
I don't know. I was like, discern?
Discern? I feel like there's so much that has happened since then. I'm like, huh?
No, exactly. All the distractions.
Yeah. And they want to keep us, we'll say it over and over, forever and ever, because this is what it is to be human. They want us to keep being in fear, because fear separates us, fear divides us, where ultimately we have to find common ground, because they want us fighting across instead of fighting up and down. Mm-hmm. And we need to come to a time where we realize we need to start fighting up and down. We need to start standing together on our on our stage as middle-class people, as people below that, as people, period. And say, hey, there are people above us that are doing shit that isn't fucking cool. And once we stop fighting each other and turn around and go, it's the classic bug life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where the grasshoppers are like, if they ever find out that there's way more of them than us, we'll lose our power. And that's why they keep us separate. So that doom scrolling, that getting so wrapped up in what's happening, it's holding the duality of saying, yeah, this is happening. This is painful. There's grief. There's fear. And I'm going to transmute that. I'm going to tend to myself individually so I can liberate from that through this chaos. So that way we start coming together on this plane so we can fight up.
And I really am pick your poison, right?
Yeah.
Here, the distractions, You'll have plenty to choose from. You'll have plenty to seduce you into whatever avenue you want to take. But if you're going to let yourself be distracted by things that are being placed in front of you, you also have the choice to distract yourself with things that are actually nourishing for your soul and your body and your time here to evolve and grow as a human soul. And so I'm focusing on my mission, which is to experience life and expand consciousness and light and play with energy and alchemy and sex and food and all the magic in between. So, going back to the premise of like, you don't have to feel guilty for feeling good.
Yes.
You do not have to feel guilty for feeling good. And actually, it is such a superpower for you to tune into that, even if you're going through shit. And trust me, trust Tara, we've been there. We know.
Yeah.
And it's hard to shift into that, and it ebbs and flows, and really leaning into the times that you feel good, guilt-free.
And I feel like when you said getting distracted by what's right in front of you, my brain immediately thought, if you're going to let yourself get distracted by what's ahead of you. What do you want to be at the end of that road?
Yeah.
Let that distract you, right? That joy that you're trying to cultivate, that security that you're trying to cultivate, that higher consciousness that you're trying to cultivate. Let that be the distraction, not the fear and bullshit that's right in front of you.
We were just chatting before this episode because we were like, what do we talk about? Like, so much was coming through. And Tara had mentioned something about, a few episodes ago. I was like, what if grays are us from the future? They just, went underground, or they survived some sort of like nuclear explosion, or they chose the super AI robot route and lost their humanness. And then we are these like ageless siren, mermaid, angel lovers.
I love that.
Who are just emanating light and glowing and forever beautiful and anchoring in this like really sacred, special energy and getting to play here for as long as we want because we won.
Yeah, we did. And we will continue to. If that's the reality you step into.
Because when we win, we all win.
Oof.
And that's
the
collective consciousness at its finest.
Yeah.
Sensual shit?
Yes. Let's get to sensuality.
I mean, first things first, get outside, breathe fresh air, hug a freaking tree.
Hug a freaking tree.
Observe, listen to the birds, the cars, the everything, but then also ebb and flow between the silence. You learn how to create within yourself through whatever meditation practice you choose. And the sights, the smells, they await you, right? But also the biggest thing that was like screaming at me to mention on today's episode on the drive here was eat real food. Be so freaking mindful of the food you're eating.
Yeah. I think when I think about the senses too and sensuality, something that I was focusing on when I wasn't having no screens is playing with one sense at a time. And like, instead of having a snack while I'm reading or coloring or watching TV, like just sit in silence and eat this snack. Or just sit and listen to this music and see how it feels in my body. Or just sit outside and listen and look. And like, yes, it's beautiful to use all your five senses, but it's really interesting to play with one at a time. And I'm recognizing too that all of this distraction, even when we are tapping into our senses and we're watching and we're listening and we're smelling and we're tasting and we're feeling all at once, it can become distracting. And it takes us away, like you said, from the stillness that we can create inside ourselves. And that's when we can get the information. And that's when we can tune into our body to say, what do I need? How do I step forward with my greatest intention and integrity?
And what a luxury it is, but it's also a luxury that you have the free will to create this for yourself in whatever capacity you can. So I don't want you to feel limited by the lack of resources, because these resources are available to you. And I think the more you tap into the abundance of resources that are available to all of us, we can start to shift the consciousness of and towards a world where there is wealth redistribution and equity. And I just want to say we're not giving up on that at all. If anything, I see more power and energy being directed into those endeavors. I wanted to jump back to, no, it's so interesting to me how sensory overload actually equals numbness. And there's a huge difference between that numbness and detachment. And detachment is making the conscious choice not to give your power away or your energy away to something or let it affect you. And I think the practice of detachment and or non-attachment, some people have very strong feels about one versus the other. We're just going to use the word detachment, but use whatever interchangeably if that does not resonate with you. It requires knowing your energy. And in order to know your energy, you have to tune into your senses. You know what feels good, you know what feels bad, the basic elements of sensuality, right? But to really, truly, fully engage with your senses requires this degree of surrender that I feel like many of us are programmed to believe we don't deserve, or we have to work really hard, or there has to be a XYZ equation in order for that magic to happen. And so really tuning into the elemental 5 senses, 6 senses, or whatever degree of senses you're working on. And maybe just the art of giving yourself permission is the first place to start.
And I think that also rings true when we like distraction bringing to numbness or overstimulation bringing to numbness is when we can zero in on 1 or 2 senses at a time and really learn and give ourselves permission and time to learn ourselves as ever-changing beings, right? Because that's the goal, is to continue to grow and change. Wait, where was I going? Oh, we stop trying to find quick pleasures.
Yeah.
Through distraction, that instant gratification. And that is what really was coming to me when I think about sensuality and the senses. And I mean, I said I'm taking 30 days off of weed and alcohol and all of that. And it's not because I have a problem. I'm noticing like really doesn't matter if I do or I don't. But can I sit in that stillness that almost feels uncomfortable instead of overstimulating or trying to find instant gratification to get away from the discomfort, right? Let me just smoke weed because I'm anxious. Let me just, or like angry. Let me just eat this, like you were saying, eat good food, eat this processed food because I'm really hungry right now. Like, can we take a moment of pause and say, what is actually going to satiate my senses? What is actually going to fuel me instead of getting that instant gratification to numb the discomfort of something as basic as an overwhelming emotion or a need for, stability or something like that.
All right. I keep seeing this term gooner, which is like do you know what that means?
Okay. I'm sorry, but that pisses me off because Andrew had to explain what gooner was to me. And we used to call each other goons. Like, it was like a thing. Like, everyone would be like, oh, you're a fucking goon, like, look, kind of like a little goomba, like, you're a fucking goon. And I said that to him. He goes, you can't really say that. I'm like, not that it's like a bad thing to say, but he's like, it doesn't mean what you think it does anymore. I'm like, stop taking my fun words.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, gooner. And plus, like, that whole concept, I'm just like, ugh.
Wait, can you explain it? Basically a man who just, or a boy or what, they just constantly seek.
Yeah. Or just
pleasure. Like, but it's like the type of pleasure that
and
they just jerk off all day pretty much.
Yeah. It's about coming. Like, it's just about like getting it and going.
And I saw on TikTok recently this person who was like, hear me out. I think that like the right wing, and not to make it about that, but he was saying like the right wing has this agenda to just keep misogyny alive, because when men are viewing women as these sexual objects, they will continue to objectify them. They will continue to demean them. They'll continue to use them for their quick fix pleasures. And it's because of their unwillingness or inability to, tap into their skills to deal and process their emotions that they choose the path of quick fix pleasure. And that's why porn is so prevalent. And even like Instagram algorithms are targeting men and all of these sex workers, which I'm like, back to my statement about, strippers and sex workers of all kinds and their sexual expression. Like, how is it really being used right now as a huge distraction?
Yes.
And we need our men right now. We really need our men anchored in. And speaking about stability, like there's nothing stable about a man who has to constantly go jerk off or needs that like dopamine rush of messaging a Instagram model or however it is being expressed. It is part of this propaganda, I believe. And
I agree. Also plugging like a Netflix documentary I watched a couple years ago, but rewatched, called The Antisocial Network. And it does really go into like from 4chan to like QAnon and like our political sphere now. And I agree that men are being, especially on that side, are being fed this continuous of sexualizing women, that quick fix pleasure. But I think it's this false power that they're being provided, right? Like, oh, you have power over women. But what they're actually doing is depleting their power, because as we know, like a woman's womb is their sacred creation center. Like their penis is their like staff, it's like it's their power center as well. And I also want to, and then in regards, they're draining their power.
Exactly.
Right. And they're losing that. But I also want to make note too that it's not just men.
Yeah.
Because I feel that even myself, like when I came into that sexual liberation of myself, I was that person who watched a lot of porn, who was just trying to like get off, who was like, oh, I'm so empowered because like men are looking at me or women are looking at me. And I'm like, like all this, and it was depleting me. So I felt like I needed more and I needed more attention. And I feel like it's something that we can very easily get into, especially men, because that's what it's being fed. But women sometimes too, when they find that quote unquote sexual liberation of it's okay to watch porn and it's okay to do those things, which, hey, do your thing, but do your thing for the right reasons. Do your things in a way that's going to empower you, not just for instant gratification. And even, this is something I know you want to talk more to, so I want to lead you into that. But just like, even for myself, and we talked about this maybe way back when we did like our sex episode, but just about how I was always like, okay, like let's get this wrapped up. Like, let me get off and then let the sex be over, because like, I'm not really in the sensuality of it. I'm not in my senses. I'm not present for it, whether it was because of shame or guilt or, insecurities in my body that I just wanted to get it over with. And, how important it is to ignite the senses in that as well.
When you try to say an expression and you're like, how does it go? Without a fact of a doubt or without a fact about, I don't know.
Sure. Without a fact of a doubt. Without a doubt of a.
Right?
You guys know what we mean.
The power that comes from truly tuning into your senses and having a slowed down, sensual, heartfelt experience with yourself or another is the most powerful gift you can give you and your lover. You're like, I know I've really been craving this like 70s like sex den vibe with like
just taking it slow,
lava lamps and shag rugs and quaaludes. Just kidding.
And really like feeling the walls.
Yeah. Yeah, I had this thought earlier that I think the idea of balancing the duality of multiple truths at the same time is similar to that of edging.
Mm.
And I think when you're in that state of constantly edging, it's that like in between where you're like, it kind of starts to feel good because you know that you don't know, but you know that you know. And and you get to just kind of experience multiple things at once. And the more tuned in you are to your energetic body, like you actually really get to feel those multiple things happening at the same
Yes.
time. And then pick and choose which one you want to lean into more. More about being in your power, I suppose. But I'm like, to summarize the whole idea of men and their addiction to porn, or women, or the quick fix cum culture that has been created from media really taking off and algorithms feeding the distractions. Like, what do I'm like, I'm edging this thought right now. I really truly believe that it's impossible to be present when you are in this state or that high of wanting to spike your dopamine from whatever it may be. And to come down from that really kind of takes this, removing certain things from your life to reenact all of your senses. So whether it be screen time or smoke or drink or sex or porn, like I said, pick your poison and choose it wisely. Choose your poison wisely right now, because it is affecting you more than ever before. And I really pray that this is what I'm praying for, that sex workers better understand their power and how to use it wisely, and for the greater good of all. Let the money be there. I really, truly believe it can be. And I do feel this sense of responsibility to teach to these men. And I've been brewing this inside of me for a few years now. And the downloads have been coming through so strongly. Some more to come on that soon, but it's been an act of trust, not only with myself, but feeling comfortable to bring this teaching out into the world and not have it be ripped apart by the constructs that have separated feminine and masculine from unity consciousness. So let the medicine be the unity consciousness of understanding your own energy and I don't know. I feel like I'm just like battery shut down.
Yeah. I feel like when I was thinking about that instant gratification and sensuality and sex and things like that, it took me right back to you, because I'm literally in it again. These smutty romance novels.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, why are they so popular? Because they're not like, and then he came over and boned me. It's like, and then we brushed hands and we felt the energy here and the hair trickled on my neck, and it's slow and it's enticing and it's bringing in each sense one at a time. And I think that, like Victoria was saying, whatever you're talking about when it comes to sensuality or the vices that you use, we need to be running a clear body. We need to be running a clear mind when the world is going all over the place. So when you can really get into your senses, when you can take your time, when you can edge while you're eating and just really sit there and be like, how does this mango taste? When you can edge while you're listening to music and say, oh shit, did you hear that horn in the background? Ooh, you know what I mean? That's what we're looking for. That's how we start to, as Jocelyn said, when you're looking at a dancer and you get inspired by their movement, it's not the technicality. I mean, sometimes it is, and their nuance and how they move their body, but it's really how they feel the music and express within it. And that's through sound and movement. So really being able to slow down in this time of mass chaos and use your senses. Be sensual. Find the slowness. Find the groovy lava lamp, Quaalude, time alive, and just really be like, I can hold the duality of like things are hard and I have to be paying attention to some regard, but also I can move slow and go with the flow and feel it in my body. And that's how we get clear messages from our body. That's how we're listening to our higher self. That's how we're not getting distracted with what's in front of us, but allowing us to reach beyond that and saying, this is what I'm cultivating. So when those time of dis-ease come in, when the chaos comes in, when those trials come in and challenges, you get to say, well, I see what's on the other side and that's what I'm striving for. I'm not being distracted by the quick fix to get over this discomfort, the quick fix to deal with this problem, or the distraction of this fear mongering. And I can just say, this is what I'm striving for. And it's not, I want this, I want that, I want this. It's, I want to feel like this. I want to embody this. I want to emit this energy. And we don't do that if we don't know what our body likes, how our body responds to different senses or different stimuli without being overstimulated and numb.
And if you need a quick fix, tune into your breath. Because that is the greatest gift you can give yourself to bringing your presence back. Breathe, bitch.
I thought you were going to say, and if you need a quick fix, tune into your broads.
That too. There's nothing quick about our messages.
I know, never. But that's okay.
I heard this is heavy. What we talk about is heavy. I was like, this is my existence. This is my whole life.
I'm like, what are you talking about? These are just the things I've been thinking about all week. Sometimes I'll ask Andrew, I'm like, what do you feel? Like, have you thought about this? And he's like, Tara, I don't think about these things. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, did you just like sit upstairs and think about it? I'm like, no, I'm thinking about it on my drive. I'm thinking about it in the shower. I'm thinking about while I'm grocery shopping. Hence why I have these crazy voice messages and voice to text notes, because I'm just like, wow, hold on. What if the universe worked like this? And it's just an average Tuesday. For you guys, a Thursday. I guess that's it.
108. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling relaxed.
Yeah.
I feel very like sensual and wanting to like move my body all serpentine like.
I'm like, I just got the third book from Fourth Wing Onyx Storm. I'm like, let's get it.
And I'm going to go home and eat a burrito made with mushroom beef, quote unquote. It's so good. It's so good.
I'm like, shit. Got some extra?
Yeah.
And just one bite at a time, baby. We're all here. I'm excited for you guys to take this break, integrate everything that's been going on, sit with yourself, find your truth, and then join us for season 7. Holy shit, that's crazy.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. We love you so much. See you so soon.
Take care of yourself. Stay safe. We love you. Mwah.